CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? My best friend hacked Vatican Secret Service. He got killed last night. The next day, he showed up at school like nothing happened. Hey Reddit, I've never really posted anything like this before. I usually just lurk, scroll through r/Oz credit, or watch those creepy animated YouTube stories when I can't sleep. But this thing that happened to me, and more specifically, to my best friend Josh, it's been eating away at me. I haven't told anyone, not even my parents, but I feel like if I don't get it out somewhere, I'm gonna lose my mind. So here goes. This all started about 3 weeks ago. It feels like it's been months, but the truth is, I've been spiraling since the night of May 1st. I live in Chicago, go to a public high school just outside the city. Nothing special. I'm 17, about to be a senior, and yeah, I'm one of those kids who's good with computers, but mostly just uses it to screw around. But Josh was different. He was smart, like scary smart. The kind of kid who could bypass the school Wi-Fi restrictions by the third day of freshman year. He could deepfake the principal's voice to make prank announcements over the intercom. Just absolutely cracked. But the thing that made Josh dangerous wasn't just his brain, it was his boredom. And when Josh got bored, he went deep. Like deep web deep. I know what you're thinking. Yeah, right. Every high school kid says they've been on the deep web. But Josh wasn't like those fake edgelords on TikTok pretending to order red rooms. He understood that stuff. Tor browsers, encrypted layers, onion sites. It was like second nature to him. He used to joke about it like, the surface web is like Starbucks. The deep web is like the alley behind a gas station in Belarus. Anyway, on May 1st, we were hanging in his basement after school. Classic suburban stuff. Empty Doritos bags, Xbox controllers everywhere, YouTube videos playing in the background. Josh had his laptop out, as always, but this time, he had this really weird look on his face. Pale, like he'd just seen something that didn't sit right. He looked at me and said, "Dude, do you want to see something insane?" Of course, I said yes. I always said yes to Josh. He flipped his laptop around, and there was this plain black screen with green text. No buttons, just text. At the top, it said, VATICANMIRRORACCESS, Exodus Gate. I thought it was some kind of ARG, like maybe a horror game or something. But then he hit a few keys, and suddenly this wall of files started scrolling down the screen. No GUI, just directories, thousands of them. Some were in Latin, others were labeled with weird strings, like ACTS 17XPH 03NIX, or HOLYWATER 0301 TRANSMIT. I didn't understand any of it, but Josh was breathing like he'd just sprinted a mile. "This isn't just Vatican archives," he whispered. "This is like the stuff they don't even catalog, stuff they keep off-grid." He clicked on one folder titled Ex Umbrella Corpus, and inside were dozens of .mp4s and .wav files. I swear, the names gave me chills just reading them. One was called Confession George 17 B Avignon Body Remains .wav. Another, Monks Cannot Sleep Visions Den P4. And one that was just Pray for Us on Mauve. Before he could open anything, his screen glitched out for like half a second. Not like a normal computer glitch. I mean, the lights in the basement flickered, and then the laptop shut down. Just completely dead. He tried restarting it, but it wouldn't power back on. That's when I started freaking out. I told him to delete whatever that was, that maybe we triggered some kind of alert. Josh, being Josh, just laughed it off. Dude, they can't trace Tor traffic. Chill. It's probably just a power surge. But I saw the way he looked at the screen. He was scared. Like, deep down, scared. We didn't talk much the rest of the night. I left early, and when I got home, I kept refreshing his Snap story. Nothing. Not like him at all. Usually he'd be posting memes or dumb selfies with weird filters. Radio silence. I texted him around 10 p.m. Yo, you good? Laptop working again. No answer. The next morning, I wake up to a message from his mom. Have you seen Josh? He didn't come home last night. I froze. We all thought he might have crashed at someone else's house. That maybe he was pulling one of his stunts, trying to lay low after pissing off a teacher or something. But then the cops showed up at school around 11 a.m. They didn't say much, just asked if anyone had seen him. People were already whispering about him being missing, and that's when I started to panic. By 5 p.m., the news broke. Local station. Just a 30-second segment, but it said enough. A 17-year-old student, Joshua Keller, was found deceased behind the parking lot of a shuttered Toys R Us in Skokie. Authorities are investigating the incident as a potential homicide, though details remain unclear. My stomach dropped. I texted his number, called him. Nothing. I didn't eat dinner that night. I couldn't. Just lay in bed, watching the news cycle through the same segment over and over again. And I swear, right before I fell asleep, I heard a faint buzzing, like something vibrating from inside my closet. But when I checked, nothing was there. The next day, I walked into school with dark circles under my eyes. Kids were talking. A few were crying. Teachers were trying to act like everything was normal. And then I saw him. Josh. He was standing at his locker, laughing, talking to this dude from the track team, like nothing had happened. Same backpack, same beat-up Vans, same hoodie he was wearing the night I last saw him. No scars, no bruises, no sign he'd been found dead in a parking lot less than 24 hours ago. I froze, just stood there in the hallway as people brushed past me like I wasn't even there. When he turned to look at me, his eyes didn't look real, like they were too reflective, like someone copied what eyes were supposed to look like, but missed some tiny crucial detail. He smiled at me. Yo, dude, what's up? My mouth went dry. I didn't say anything, because Josh Keller died on May 1st, and whatever the hell I was looking at wasn't him. I didn't sleep the night after I saw him, not even a minute. I just laid there, phone gripped in my hand like it was a weapon, refreshing his Instagram profile over and over like it would somehow confirm reality. His last post was still there, a picture of his basement setup from a week before, captioned, "Some doors you can't close after opening." 7 likes, no comments. I clicked the share icon. User not found. Every time I tried, I got the same thing. This user no longer exists. But at school, He was right there, laughing, texting, eating curly fries, like he hadn't just been declared legally dead 12 hours earlier. No news update, no retraction, no correction, just dead online, and physically walking the halls of Carl Sandburg High like nothing happened. I started documenting everything. I screen recorded his profile glitching out. I took secret videos of him in the cafeteria, acting like Josh, but not Josh. The way he laughed was wrong, like someone pretending to laugh. The pitch of his voice dipped and glitched sometimes, like a Bluetooth speaker losing signal. And then came the whispers. People said he wasn't answering questions right. Someone in his chemistry class said they asked him what year it was, and he just stared at them for 30 seconds before saying 22:15 under his breath. And he kept writing the date wrong in his notebooks, like March 19th, 1752. Even his handwriting was messed up, all blocky, mechanical. I made the mistake of going back to his house the next evening. I didn't tell anyone. I just biked there before sunset and stayed out of view behind the neighbor's hedge. His bedroom light was on. I waited. Around 8:14 p.m., I saw a shadow move past the window, but the way it moved wasn't right. It didn't walk. It floated. Not smooth. Just kind of snapped from one side of the window to the other, like a puppet missing frames. Then the curtains opened themselves. I swear on everything I love, I didn't blink. They just slowly pulled apart on their own. No hands, no cords, nothing. And Josh was standing there, staring out the window, right at me, not blinking, not moving, just staring, for 8 minutes straight. That night, I heard knocking, not on my door, not on my windows, inside my closet, just 3 soft knocks, slow, like they were waiting between each one to see if I'd breathe. Knock, pause, knock, longer pause, knock. I didn't move. I didn't even cry. I just laid in bed, phone aimed at the closet, screen recording, but nothing showed up on the playback. Just silence. No knocking. No movement. And then the text started. At first, it was one message, sent at 3:06 a.m. Open the door. No number. Just unknown. Blocked it. Phone vibrated again. Open the door. He needs you. No contact info. Just the same message. I turned off my phone, pulled the covers over my head like I was 5 again, and waited for morning. The next day at school was worse. Everyone was acting like Josh never went missing. Even the teachers. Like his death was something only I remembered. I tried talking to someone about it. My friend Maria, who used to have a thing with Josh last semester. I cornered her in the hallway and asked if she remembered the police coming to class. The news story. The text from his mom. She stared at me like I was insane. Josh, what are you talking about? He's literally right there, by the vending machine. He's fine. I grabbed her by the shoulders. My voice cracked. He was dead, Maria. You cried when the cops showed up. Her face changed, like her brain hit a wall. She blinked hard, like glitching out of a trance. Her eyes went glossy. I need to go to the nurse, she muttered, and walked off like she didn't even know where her legs were taking her. And Josh was watching me, across the hallway, not blinking, just smiling that perfectly human smile, like he was trying to remember how it was done. That night, I did something stupid. I reinstalled Tor. I wanted to know what he accessed, what folder got him killed, or whatever happened to him. I booted up Tails OS, connected through 3 relays, and used his old scripts to spoof his path. It worked. It Took hours, but I found the string. Exodus chose gate. Inside was a mirror index. Vatican services, internal mirrors, 17. Every file had been updated May 1st, the day he died. One file stood out. Kyrie.exe. It had no download size, just a flashing red warning. Liv Damon, active, monitoring this session. I clicked it anyway. The screen flickered, then turned completely black. Then a video started. Night vision footage. Old, grainy. Timestamps from 1996. 4 men in cassocks stood in a crypt-like room, whispering over something covered in a blood-soaked sheet. Latin chants echoed, but were reversed, like someone played a mass backwards. One priest unwrapped the sheet. Underneath was a boy, pale, lips blue, dead, but his eyes were wide open. The priest pulled out a rusted crucifix and placed it over the boy's heart. Then he started screaming. No, not screaming. The audio glitched, like the file couldn't render the pitch. It was this inhuman distortion, like metal dragging across a chalkboard. The boy sat up, just sat up, and smiled at them. The same wrong reflective smile I saw in Josh. The priest didn't move. One of them collapsed. Another started convulsing violently. Then the footage froze, but the smile kept moving. I slammed my laptop shut. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely breathe. But when I looked at the screen again, it was off. Laptop off. Power unplugged. And yet, my webcam light was on. It stayed on for 9 full minutes. I sat frozen, staring back at it, as the light flickered slightly, like it was adjusting to something in the room. At 3:14 a.m., my printer turned on by itself. I don't even use the printer. I didn't even know it had paper. It printed one sheet, just a single sentence. Tell no one, or they will replace you too. I didn't go to school the next day, but guess who showed up? Me. A video of me walking through the hallways, taken from multiple Snapchat stories, started circulating in my DMs. People messaged me like, "Yo, you good today? You were acting mad weird. Why were you sitting in the locker room for like 2 hours? You said the Pledge of Allegiance backwards, dog, WTF. Except I never left my room. I never put on my shoes. I wasn't there. I watched a clip someone sent me from second period. It was me, sitting in the back of class, but my eyes weren't blinking. My smile was too wide, and under my desk, in one hand, I was holding a crucifix made entirely out of sharpened staples. The other hand was writing something over and over in a notebook. I zoomed in. The phrase was, "The body is just a door." They always say the worst part of trauma is the quiet. They're wrong. The worst part is when everything keeps moving, like nothing ever happened. When your mom's making eggs downstairs, like your identity wasn't just stolen by a smiling corpse in a hoodie. When the clock ticks forward and people go to Starbucks and post TikToks and complain about gas prices, while you're watching yourself breathe in a video you didn't record. That's when you realize the world doesn't care what's real, only what's convincing. And whatever Josh became, it was doing a hell of a job pretending to be us. May 5th, 4 days after Josh died, 4 days after he came back, I decided to go back into the deep web. I had to. If I didn't understand this, I knew I'd be next. And not just dead, replaced. Like a skinwalker version of me would be walking around, laughing in the hallway, eating fries, and no one would know the difference. My parents wouldn't know. My friends wouldn't know. My teachers would say I was just acting a little off. And one day, they'd stop wondering at all. I logged back in. Same string. Exodus gate. Ex umbrella. Corpus. .kiri.exe was gone. In its place was a new folder, Requiem Cycle. Inside were thousands of .txt files, each with a name, not usernames, real names, full first, middle, last names. Some had birth dates, most had death dates, or something that looked like a death date. I searched mine. Nothing. Then I searched Josh Keller. There it was, Joshua L. Keller, 2007 to 2024. Cycle incomplete. I opened the file. It was just a plain text paragraph, but it made my skin crawl. Subject terminated May 1st, 2024. Resurrection protocol success. Vessel reanimated for surveillance purposes. Cycle remains incomplete. Awaiting corpus anchor. What the hell was a corpus anchor? Below that was a link. Vatican.mirror.gate//eyes of Lazarus.vhs. I clicked it. The screen went black again. No loading. Just instant noise. Distorted static. Like an old VHS from a garage sale in hell. Then a man's voice, whispering in Latin. But wrong. The words twisted. Unnatural. I know enough from church and Google Translate to know it wasn't a prayer. It was commands. The video cut to footage, grainy, black and white, of what looked like an operating room. But the tools weren't surgical. They were ritualistic. Knives shaped like crosses, scalpels carved with symbols. They had someone strapped to a table. A boy. Could have been 16, maybe 17. Bruised face. His eyes were still moving. He wasn't sedated. His mouth was stitched shut. On the wall behind him, scribbled in something dark, maybe blood, were the words, "Silence is entry." They started cutting into him while he was awake. The camera zoomed in as they opened his chest cavity. They didn't remove anything. They inserted something, a long coiled metal tube, engraved with Latin, which they forced into his ribcage and sealed shut. He didn't scream. He couldn't. He just watched the camera with dead eyes and started smiling. The camera zoomed again into his left eye until it filled the entire frame. And then the feed glitched into my webcam feed. Like that. Just instantly. I was staring at myself, live, in the reflection of my own screen. Behind me, my closet door was wide open, but I hadn't opened it. I turned around. Nothing there. Just clothes and a stack of hoodies. But the smell hit me. That thick, coppery stench of rotting meat and incense. You know when you're at a church and they burn too much frankincense? Mix that with the scent of roadkill in July. That's what poured out of my closet. I slammed it shut and turned back to my screen. It was still recording me, still live, and a chat box had opened on the screen. A single message popped up. "Are you ready to take his place?" Then the laptop shut down. No prompt, no blue screen, just silence. I didn't go to school the next day, or the next. I stayed locked in my room, curtains closed, door barricaded. But on the third night, I heard something scrape under my bed, like nails dragging against wood. I dropped to the floor, heart racing, and listened. My whole body went numb. The whisper came again. "We only needed one, but two will make it cleaner." I grabbed my phone, dialed 911, but when they answered, it wasn't a dispatcher. It was Josh. "Stop trying to leave. You'll make this worse. You don't know what you're for yet." I hung up and threw the phone. I wanted to run, to go anywhere else. I packed a bag, slipped out through the window, and biked until my legs gave out. I stopped at a 24/7 McDonald's near Midway Airport. Just wanted to sit somewhere with lights and people and fries. But no one looked right. I swear to God, the entire staff behind the counter was too still. like they were standing for a photograph and forgot to go back to normal. One of them, this teenage girl with a name tag that read Miranda, blinked in slow motion. Too slow. I blinked again, and her eyes were suddenly entirely black. I dropped my tray and sprinted out. That night, I slept in the bathroom stall of a Target. I woke up to a sticky note on the store wall that hadn't been there the night before. Sleep in his house again, and we finish the ritual. The anchor is you. I don't know what the anchor is, but I think I'm the reason Josh didn't fully take. I think when he accessed that file, when he opened the door to that Vatican mirror, something tried to enter. It used his body, but it needed a corpus anchor, a tether. Me. Because I saw it too. Because I know. And I think if I die, it'll complete whatever's happening. That was last week. Now listen carefully. Because this is where everything changes. Today, my parents sat me down, told me they got an email from the school, said they're concerned I've been acting unusually and asking strange questions. But that's not the part that scared me. The part that scared me, they said I hadn't been in school in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. But I saw myself there. Got messages, videos, Snapchats. And then my mom pulled up a picture. She said the school sent it to her. It was a hallway security cam, still from the school's internal server. Time-stamped May 15th. There I was, but not the real me. His face was smiling too wide. His backpack was on backward. His clothes were too clean, too perfect, like he replicated them from memory. And in his hand, he was holding Josh's old crucifix, except now it had a new word carved into it. Replaced. I haven't spoken a single word out loud in 72 hours. I write things down. I mouth sentences, but I don't say anything. Because last time I spoke, my voice didn't sound like mine. It happened the night after the photo. My parents were asleep. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at the printout of me, not me, from the school hallway. The fake backpack, the crucifix in hand, the smile, the way the knees were slightly bent inward, like something was still learning how to be human. And then I got this sharp, stabbing pain in the back of my throat, not like a sore throat, more like something moved in there. I rushed to the mirror, opened my mouth wide, and deep in the back of my throat, behind the uvula, just past the place the flashlight couldn't quite reach, there was writing, letters, tiny black moving letters, written in an alphabet I don't know, but recognized. It wasn't English, it wasn't Latin, it was older, more primal, and I swear to God, the letters were squirming like maggots under the skin. I tried screaming, but what came out wasn't my voice. It was Josh's. I slammed my face against the mirror, so hard it cracked. Blood ran down my chin. I couldn't stop shaking. I threw everything out of my room. Phone, laptop, all of it. But one item I didn't recognize was already there. A Polaroid camera. I never owned one, but it sat there, on my windowsill, like it had always been part of the room, like I'd brought it back from somewhere else. I picked it up. Something about it felt wrong. The buttons were warm. The battery compartment was sealed shut. On the back, someone had etched a message with what looked like a razor blade. Take the photo, not the memory. I didn't understand, until I pressed the shutter. The camera clicked. Flash. Whir. I took a picture of my own face. When it printed, I held it up. The photo didn't show me. It showed Josh, but not Josh when he was alive. It showed the thing wearing his skin, eyes too wide, head slightly tilted, neck stitched like a rag doll, and behind him, towering over both our heads, was a shape, not a man, not a shadow, something tall, with joints bent the wrong way, a face like stretched plastic, fingers scraping the edge of the frame like it knew it was being watched. That was the moment I realized I hadn't escaped anything. I'd been recruited. There's something called the replacement protocol. I didn't understand it until I broke into the church. St. Gabriel's, off 103rd. They closed it after a fire in the 90s. But I remember Josh once saying it wasn't actually closed. It was offline. I snuck in through a broken stained glass window after midnight. Inside, everything was frozen in ash. Pews melted together, crosses blackened, but the altar, untouched, like something protected it. Behind it, hidden in the confessional, I found the manual. A real, printed, Vatican-stamped manual, with the seal, with a Latin watermark. I'm not kidding. It was titled, Replacement Protocols for the Fallen Vessels, Revision 13, Exodus, Mirror, Stabilized.xx. Inside were pages and pages of reports, incidents just like Josh, children who accessed forbidden mirrors, teens who saw too much, witnesses who needed to be integrated, and it all pointed to one thing. They weren't killing us. They were copying us, but not perfectly. That's why they always glitch. The blinking, the smiles, the posture, because they're not learning from us. They're learning from recordings, old ones, ancient ones, from before language, from before God. One page stood out. It listed 5 names. Josh's name was at the top. Mine was at the bottom. And between them, 3 others, all crossed out, all marked, vessel rejected, anchor corrupted, purge issued. Next to my name was a handwritten note in red pen. Corpus anchor remains viable. Terminate if anomaly persists. That's me. I'm the anomaly. I'm the one they couldn't fully replicate. Because I saw the file. Because I'm not replaceable. Yet. I ran. I ran all night barefoot through alleys, train yards, back roads, gas stations. I saw my own face on a missing poster outside a Walgreens. No joke. Full name. Age. Disappeared May 6th. With a photo I never took. In it, I was smiling, and someone's hand was on my shoulder, just barely in frame. Long fingers, stretched skin, yellowed nails. The real horror hit me 2 nights ago. I went to Maria's house. I needed to talk to someone who knew me before this all started. Someone who might have seen something. I knocked 3 times. Her mom answered. She looked different, paler, hair too neat, movements robotic. "Oh, you're Maria's friend," she said in a voice like styrofoam, scraping against teeth. "She's been expecting you." She shouldn't have been expecting me. I stepped inside. The house smelled like bleach and old blood, like a hospital that had burned down. Maria was sitting at the kitchen table, motionless, and I knew immediately it wasn't her. Her eyes were wide open, no pupils, just voids. Her mouth was stretched, like someone tried to smile, but didn't understand how muscles worked. She stood up, walked over, and whispered in a voice that sounded like 10 voices at once. "He said you would come. He said the anchor is ready." Then she leaned close. "He wants your skin next." I ran. Again. I know it sounds impossible, like I'm hallucinating, like I'm making this up for clout. But I swear to you, if you even think about searching the deep web for Exodus Gate, you'll hear it. That buzzing. It starts in your ears, then it gets into your blood. then behind your eyes. And once you hear it, they know you're looking. The replacements start forming. They mirror your breathing, your posture, your feed history, your memories, your voice. And then, one day, they just arrive. Silently, softly, like a breath of wind under the door. Tonight, I'm burning everything. The laptop, the notes, the photos, the Polaroid camera, even the clothes I was wearing the night Josh first showed me the Vatican mirror. But not before I finish this, because someone has to know. Someone has to read this and feel that cold pit in their stomach and realize this isn't fiction. You want to know what Josh said the last time I really saw him, before he was taken? He looked at me, dead serious, and said, "The thing that scares me most, I think we weren't supposed to evolve alone. I think something else was always watching us from the other side of the mirror, and I think we just finally looked back. I made a promise that if I survived long enough to reach the end, I'd finish this. Not for clout, not to go viral, but so when they finally come for you, you'll recognize the signs. And maybe you'll last longer than I did, because by the time you realize what's happening, it's already too late. I haven't looked into a mirror in 6 days. I covered everyone in my house with duct tape and torn up grocery bags. Not because I'm scared of what I'll see, but because I'm scared of what's behind it. Let me explain. After I fled Maria's house, or whatever that thing pretending to be Maria was, I took a bus. Didn't care where. Just wanted distance. Didn't check the stops. Didn't look at the driver. Just climbed aboard and buried my head. But halfway through the ride, I heard my name. Software repeated, whispered like a secret inside the vents. James. James. The mirror breathes. I looked up. Every passenger was me. They had my face. Some were younger, some older, all wrong. Too pale, or too clean, or smiling when they weren't supposed to. One of them had no ears. One's head turned too far when the bus hit a pothole. I heard the cartilage pop like a knuckle. I jumped off the bus, rolled onto the pavement. The driver, who was me, of course, waved. That's when I knew I wasn't running from something. I was running from everyone. I've been hiding in an abandoned Planet Fitness on 93rd. It's pitch black, moldy, smells like battery acid and wet coins. I picked this place because all the mirrors are shattered from some fire a year ago. That makes it harder for them to see me. You're probably wondering, who are they? They're not demons. They're not aliens. They're not ghosts. They're architects. That's what the files called them. The things behind the Exodus Gate. They live in a place the Vatican used to call Speculum Invertus. The inverted mirror. It's a layered realm, made of reflections, but not of reality, of potential. It's where every what-if human consciousness ever imagined is recorded and preserved. You know that moment when you look in a mirror too long and something feels off, like your reflection doesn't quite match. That's not a glitch. That's when they notice you. Josh wasn't the first, and I'm not the last. There's a whole ritual network designed to invite them in. It's hidden in QR codes on fast food receipts, in digital echoes embedded in TikTok filters, in background files of Vatican live streams, anything with a reflection. The deeper I dug into the data I salvaged, not from the Vatican server, but from the Polaroids I scanned, I found coordinates, not IPs, locations, all leading to one place, the Black Vatican. That's not a nickname. It's real. An underground replica of the Vatican archive, not in Rome, not in Italy. It's beneath Disney World. I'm not joking. Beneath the It's a Small World ride, that song, the looping melody, it's a binding chant, a cage song, a lullaby designed to keep the mirror things asleep. But someone turned the speakers off during a power outage 2 years ago, and that's when it escaped. The one that entered Josh, the one wearing me, right now, probably standing in your hallway, mouth wide, humming a broken version of It's a Small World backwards. I broke in last night, found the maintenance tunnels, used blueprints leaked online by a guy who disappeared in 2019. The tunnels are lined with glass, walls of glass, not mirrors, glass screens, each one displaying us, not live footage, not CCV, simulations. I saw my kindergarten self in one, laughing with my mom, who died in 2020. I saw my funeral in another, coffin empty, priest glitching mid-sermon. I saw myself sitting in a padded room, screaming silently, while my copy visited friends, dated girls, got accepted to Columbia. But the worst one was the one labeled, contained, vessel, J. Keller, mirror, rejection, failed. Inside was a glass cube, and inside the cube was Josh's original body. Not the thing wearing him, but the real one. Bones exposed, tongue cut, chest hollowed and filled with wax crucifixes. His eyes were still moving, tracking me. They recognized me, and then they turned black, and the cube began to crack. I ran through the holes of reflected lives, into the back end of the ride, where the fake sky loops on a 10-second reel, past a wall where children's voices chant in reverse. Not, It's a Small World, but the words, a corpse is just a vessel, a mirror is just a gate, the face is just the key. I burst through an emergency exit and climbed into a vent shaft. I stayed there all night, and while I was inside, I watched them remove me, not literally, digitally, legally, existentially. Every account I ever made, deleted, birth certificate, flagged as duplicate, Face ID, reassigned. I wasn't just being copied, I was being phased out, replaced, which brings me to now. This is my last entry, because tonight is when they complete the swap. I saw the final step in a file called Mirror Absorption, Final Image, Self-Violence Protocol. You see, the reflection isn't stable unless the original breaks, and the most efficient way to break a human is to show them their own body, doing things they know they never did. I found a flash drive in my pocket this morning. I never put it there. It contains videos of me, smiling, laughing, murdering Josh's mom, digging a hole behind the church, burning my own dog alive, all deep-faked, all flawless, but no one will believe they're fake, because the mirror knows my fingerprints, my voice, my gait. It has every angle of me, and I think when I close my eyes tonight, that's when the switch happens. That's when the breath behind the glass finally exhales, and the last piece of me blinks out. If you've read this far, you're infected. You've seen the words. They track the pattern, across screens, across thoughts, across mirrors. You might think you're safe, but you'll notice it eventually. That tiny delay in your reflection, that sound in your closet that never repeats twice, that dream of a hallway you've never been in, but know exactly where it leads. They're studying you now. They're copying your laugh. They're watching the way you cry. They're almost done, and when they are, you'll hear it, right before they step through. The mirror breathes. I bought a Vatican hard drive off the dark web. What I found still has me watching the skies. What's up, Reddit? I made this throwaway account because, honestly, I don't want this tied to my real name. I don't want my face on this. I don't even want to be writing this, but I feel like I have to. Because after what I found, after what I saw, I'm not sure I've got much time left. So yeah, here goes. I'm 24, live in Austin, Texas. Pretty normal guy. Bartender at a dive downtown. Part-time crypto pro. Full-time insomniac. One of those people who scroll through Reddit and YouTube at 3 a.m. watching weird iceberg conspiracy videos and those animated horror stories with the robotic voices. You know the ones. Titles like, I found a screaming man in my attic, or the forest behind my house hasn't been quiet in years. I love that stuff. Not because I believe in it, but because it's entertaining. Like a dark fairy tale for grown-ups. But a few months ago, I found something that wasn't a story. Or, it used to be, until I made it real. It started on a night like any other. My shift ended late, around 2 a.m. I grabbed some Whataburger, got home, flopped onto my mattress with a Dr. Pepper, and started scrolling. TikTok, YouTube, Reddit, then back again. You know the cycle. I stumbled onto this post on r/deepweb, a sketchy little corner that usually just has people talking about scams and onion links that lead to nothing. But this post was weird. It had no upvotes, no comments. Title just said, Vatican Archive hard drive, must sell before midnight. And the body of the post was a scrambled mess of characters and one working dot onion link. Now, I should have ignored it. I know that. But something about it. It was like when you see a car crash and you just have to look. I was curious and tired and kinda high, not gonna lie. So I copy the onion link, open up Tor, and punch it in. The page that loads is ancient looking, straight up 2005 vibes. Gray background, papyrus font. It just says, confess your curiosity. Knowledge was never meant for everyone. $150 in Monero, one download. And below that, a single file listed, Archivum Vaticanus, iscad-132.zip. I didn't know what iscad meant at the time. Spoiler, I wish I never found out. I was dumb. I'll admit that. I converted $200 worth of Monero and sent it to the address on the page. Not even 5 minutes later, I get a private link and password. I download the .zip file to my encrypted USB because, hey, I'm not totally stupid. Then I pass out watching a 3-hour iceberg video on Disney rides that were shut down for dark reasons. Next morning, well, more like noon, I open up the file. Inside is one single folder labeled clavis. That's Latin. I googled it. It means key. The folder has 47 video files, all numbered, no titles. And every single one is 33 minutes long. Exactly. No metadata, no names, just timestamps. The thumbnails are blank black screens, like nothing's in them. But I drag one into VLC player anyway, just to see. The screen goes black, then it fades in. Slow, grainy footage of a dark marble hallway. Looks like something out of a Da Vinci Code movie. There's this heavy Latin chanting in the background, echoing, very echoey. And there's a man in the center of the shot, hooded robe, standing still, like unnaturally still. I skip forward a bit. The man hasn't moved. Chanting keeps going. Then suddenly, around the 12-minute mark, the camera glitches, just for a second. And now, the man is facing the camera. I don't mean turned around. I mean like, face pressed against the lens. like his nose is smudging the glass. But there's no camera movement. Nothing suggests he moved. It's like he teleported forward. I jumped back in the chair. Thought it was some weird ARG thing. Some guy trying to freak people out. But the more I watched, the more I realized this wasn't faked. There was no motion blur, no jump cut, just instant transition. I played 3 more videos. Each one started the same. Empty hall, different robed figure, the same glitch, the same terrifying shift. And all of them looked at the camera in that exact same way, like they knew I was watching. That night, I had dreams, vivid ones. I was walking through endless marble corridors that looked like the Vatican, but wrong. The ceilings were way too tall. The lights flickered in reverse, and Latin whispers followed me wherever I went. When I woke up, the videos were still playing on loop. I swear to God, one of the figures, one of the robed people, had my face. I deleted the whole folder, wiped the USB, but that wasn't the end. That same day, my phone started acting weird. Siri kept activating by itself. TikTok glitched and only showed me videos with Gregorian chanting as audio. Instagram had an ad pop-up that just said, "You opened it," with no brand, no link, just that phrase. And then my laptop started freezing, except when I tried to delete the downloads folder. That part never froze. It was like the machine wanted me to keep watching. I went back into the Reddit post to message the seller, see if this was a prank or a scam or something, but the post was gone. Not just removed, erased. No trace, even in Reddit or Google Cache. That night someone buzzed my apartment door at 3:03 a.m. My intercom glitched out and just played static. When I looked through the peephole, no one was there. But there was a piece of paper folded on the floor. It just said, "Clavis est in Kylo." The key is in the sky. I swear to you, I haven't slept since that night. I keep seeing those robed figures on security cams, Starbucks drive-thrus, McDonald's security feed clips on TikTok. Even one video someone posted from Times Square with one of them in the crowd. I know what I saw. I'm not crazy. And I don't think I was supposed to see those videos. I don't know what ISCAD is, but I think it's watching me now. Watching us. Stay off the dark web. And whatever you do, don't download anything from the Vatican. I woke up 2 nights after the Clavis est in Kylo note showed up at my door, drenched in sweat, sitting up on my couch with the TV blaring nothing but pure, screaming static, like the volume was maxed out, but the remote was nowhere near me. The screen wasn't just snow either. There were faces in it. I'm not exaggerating, not being poetic. I saw dozens of human faces, pale and twitching and flickering in and out like broken film. Their mouths moved like they were mouthing something silently, repeating the same word over and over again. Ascend. I yanked the power cord from the wall, but the static didn't stop. The screen stayed on for 11 more seconds. No power, no HDMI, just that ghostly electric screaming and the sea of glitched out faces, all turning toward me at once before finally going black. That's when I realized something. I hadn't touched the hard drive in days. I deleted the folder, wiped it, but somehow the file was back. I plugged in the USB out of morbid curiosity, and there it was, not the same folder. Number this one was titled ISCAD 5.2. It had a subtitle underneath in Latin, Advenit Dies. The day has come. This time, no videos, just one audio file and a PDF. I clicked the audio. It was only 9 seconds long. 9 seconds of wet, ragged breathing, followed by a whisper that sounded like it was spoken right behind my eardrum. I swear I could feel the heat of it. It said, "He is crawling through the wires now. Through satellites, through sound. You are already infected." Then it cut to silence. I sat there, frozen, not breathing, not blinking. My room felt smaller somehow, like the walls had inched closer. And then, right after, I opened the PDF. It looked like a scanned journal. Old pages, yellowed and cracked, typed out on a mechanical typewriter. Vatican seal in the top left corner. It was titled, ISCAD, Internal Study of Celestial Anomalous Doctrine. Observation number 1. Subject, Sanctus Caeli Apparatus. From what I could gather, reading through the 113 pages, this wasn't some fake ARG lore. This was real. Real enough to have diagrams, coordinates, names of actual priests, cardinals, and dead popes. Apparently, the Vatican has, or had, a device, the Sanctus Caeli Apparatus, which translates to something like Holy Sky Machine. It was built in the late 1800s, hidden deep beneath Vatican City, directly under St. Peter's Basilica. The journal describes it as a massive chamber of rotating obsidian mirrors, wires, and bone. Yes, actual human bone, used to see beyond the veil of our known universe. They weren't looking for God. They were trying to intercept transmissions from something older, something that called itself ISCAD. That acronym, according to one priest's notes, stands for In Silencio Caeli Absiditur Deus. In the silence of the sky, God is severed. These weren't aliens, not in the traditional sense. The Vatican believed they were something between celestial software and ancient consciousness, and once contacted, they would imprint themselves onto your perception. You didn't need to physically see them. You just had to watch footage that had been contaminated by the apparatus. Like, I don't know, the videos I watched. I stopped halfway through the journal because I noticed something in my apartment. The mirrors, every single one, was fogged up, like someone had been breathing on them from the inside. I live alone. My cat, Olive, was nowhere. Not under the bed, not behind the fridge, not in her favorite box. She never came back. That night, I went to a 24/7 McDonald's on West 5th to clear my head. I sat in a corner booth, scrolling through YouTube, trying to distract myself. I watched a Here's My Story animation about a kid getting stalked on Instagram. My brain just needed something that wasn't real. Then I noticed the guy sitting across from me, maybe mid-30s, bald, wearing a wrinkled Popeyes hoodie. He had a tablet open, and he was swiping through CCTV footage, fast, like he was looking for someone, or something. He looked up, met my eyes, and I swear he didn't blink once the whole time we locked eyes. Then he smiled, slow and crooked, and whispered, "You saw them, didn't you?" I didn't answer. He reached into his hoodie, pulled out a small black notebook, and slid it across my table. Then he got up and walked into the bathroom. I never saw him come out. The notebook had 2 words written on the cover. We watched the sky. Inside were Polaroids, real ones, old and scratched. Some of them showed warped-looking satellites. Others showed chalk symbols painted in blood on Vatican floors. One showed a group of children staring at a massive black obelisk floating above the Vatican Museum rooftop. But the one that made me sick to my stomach was the last one. It was a photo of me, in my apartment, sitting at my desk, staring into the camera, with my eyes completely black. I dropped the notebook and ran home. That night, I tried burning the USB drive. It didn't melt. It just hissed, like it was alive. I started noticing these odd claps in the sky. Not thunder, like enormous sonic booms, but with no planes. The news didn't report on it, but Reddit was full of people hearing the same thing, at the exact same time, all around the world. People in Tokyo, Paris, Sydney, Sao Paulo, all describing the same crack in the sky, like it was splitting open. Then came the headlines. Pope John Paul's tomb disturbed. Vatican denies involvement. CERN shuts down. Experiments after electromagnetic incident. Signal detected from Black Knight satellite. Scientists baffled. It wasn't a coincidence. I haven't told anyone this part yet. I've been holding it in because I know how it sounds. But one night, this was about a week ago, I was scrolling through TikTok like usual. Random stuff. A guy making coffee. Some girl dancing in front of a Burger King in Germany, you know. Then I got served a video with 0 likes, no caption, just 9 seconds long. It showed a city skyline at night, probably London, from the look of the Gherkin building in the background. Then a flash of static, and suddenly, the entire sky in the video turned red. Deep, blood red. Then it split, like cracked glass, and something started coming through. I paused it, tried to save it. The app crashed. When I reopened it, my phone wallpaper was changed to that robed figure from the original video. Only now, it had no face, just a single vertical eye in the middle of where its mouth should be. I've tried destroying the hard drive 5 times. It won't break. I even mailed it to myself, hoping the post office would lose it. It came back in a completely different box, with a note inside that said, "You are the receiver now. You are the vessel." That's why I'm writing this, because I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know if this is some ancient Vatican tech nightmare, a psychological breakdown, or if I've just been chosen by something we were never meant to contact. But I do know this. The sky is not what we think it is. It's a shell, a membrane, and something is pushing through. And whatever it is, it remembers my face. You ever stare into the dark long enough that it starts breathing back? Not literally, at first, but like the air in your lungs starts sinking with something beyond the room. That's how it's been lately. Like I'm not in my apartment anymore. I'm inside something else's memory, and it's wearing my life like a skin suit. I don't sleep anymore. I can't. There's this noise I hear when I try. Not tinnitus, not a dream. It's like a signal, a high-pitched whisper that's not even sound. It vibrates the inside of my skull. Sometimes it hums in Morse code, and sometimes it screams in a dead language I can't translate, but still somehow understand. I recorded it one night on my phone, just to prove I wasn't going insane. When I played it back, it wasn't the sound I heard. It was my own voice, muttering a sentence I never said. The sky has been harvested. The meat is ripe. I deleted it, threw the phone out the window. The next morning, it was sitting on my nightstand, fully charged. Wallpaper was changed again. This time, a frame-by-frame series of images showing me getting out of bed. Only, in the last one, I wasn't alone. There was a man behind me, robed, tall. His arms were too long, past his knees, and his hands were turned backward. His mouth opened vertically, and his eyes, I still can't describe what they looked like, except they weren't from this world. Let me tell you about the crawl space. I never even knew my building had one, but 3 nights ago, I heard scratching. Not rats, not raccoons. Something slower, rhythmic, like fingers, nails. I followed the noise to my coat closet, pushed aside a broken vacuum and a pair of muddy shoes I hadn't worn since high school, and there it was, a square wooden hatch in the floor, like something out of a childhood nightmare I forgot I had. I opened it. The air that came out was ice cold, and it smelled like old teeth. I lowered myself in with my phone flashlight and started crawling. The space was narrower than it should have been, like it didn't belong to this building. The walls weren't wood or concrete. They were wet, pulsing, like skin. I kept going, even though my gut was telling me to get out. After maybe 5 minutes, I reached a small room, perfectly circular, no furniture, no tools, just a mirror, about 5 feet tall, leaning against the far wall, except it didn't reflect me. It showed a different room entirely, same shape, but with 5 figures standing in a circle, robed, motionless, and in the center, someone screaming, me, but not me. This version of me had no eyes, just burned out sockets dripping this thick black ooze. His mouth was open in a silent scream, and something was growing out of it, like cables made of flesh and bone, crawling toward the robed figures. I reached out to touch the mirror, and it burned me. My fingers blistered on contact, and the reflection, it turned to look at me. The me in the mirror saw me. I scrambled backward and crawled out of that hole faster than I thought was humanly possible. I nailed the hatch shut, taped it, piled boxes on top, didn't sleep, didn't even sit, just stood there, shaking until sunrise. That morning, the tape was gone. The boxes were on the other side of the room, and in the corner of the closet mirror, I saw something watching me from inside the glass. Now, I'm going to tell you about the school broadcast. Last Thursday, a teacher friend of mine in Toronto, Mr. Glenn, 6th grade social studies, called me in a panic, told me something happened during the morning announcements over the PA system. 1 second, they were playing the Canadian national anthem, and then total silence. No static, no error, just a clean cut. Then the speakers blasted a scream, not a human one. It sounded like metal being tortured, like if a train could suffer. Then a voice, same robotic whisper I'd heard in my apartment. Only now it said, "Children of clay, your shapes are flawed. We will recast you." 15 kids fainted. 2 had seizures. The principal vomited and then tried to gouge out her own ears with her thumbs. They had to sedate her. She's in psychiatric care now. No news coverage. The whole thing's being buried by technical malfunction. But Glenn recorded the audio. He played it back for me over Zoom. At 0:44 in the recording, you can hear my name, clear as day. It says, "Receiver designated, redacted." He watched. He received. He will open the gate. That was 3 days ago. Since then, I haven't eaten. I haven't even blinked properly, because every time I close my eyes for more than a second, I see it. The sky, torn open, and the things coming through. They don't walk. They float. Their limbs hang like wet ropes. They don't blink. Their skin is inside out. Their faces are missing, but somehow they're still smiling. I can't explain it. You just feel it when you look at them. And the worst part? They're familiar. Like maybe we've seen them before. In religion, in cave drawings, in our nightmares as kids. Like they've always been just above us, waiting for us to look up. The file came back again. Now it's not a video or audio. It's an .exe file titled gloriavault.exe. I ran it. The screen went black. Then white Latin text appeared slowly, like a prayer. The sky is not a ceiling. It is a mouth. We are the breath. And now it exhales. Then the webcam light came on. I covered it with tape a long time ago. But that didn't matter. It turned itself off. I couldn't move. For a full minute, the screen was nothing but static. Then it showed a live feed of my room. But from an angle I don't have a camera in. There was a shadow in the corner. Tall, thin, like a human stretched out in Photoshop. No face, no hands, just long cords snaking from where its mouth should be. Then the feed glitched, and now the file is gone. I'm telling you this because I don't think I'm the only one. This Vatican file, it wasn't a mistake. It was a trigger, a beacon, a contagion, like digital religion, but reversed, not to save us, to unmake us. And ISCAD, it's not a program, it's not even a name, it's an invitation. I've traced the names in the journal to real people, real priests, historians, software engineers. Most are dead, mysteriously. One jumped in front of a train in Rome. Another was found mummified in their own bathtub, water long evaporated. The last one, he carved a message into his own body with a church key before bleeding out in the Vatican gift shop. It said, "The sky is open. We should have stayed below." I don't know what's coming, but I know it's already started. TikTok's been glitching, showing quick frames, flashes of geometry that don't exist in our physics. YouTube videos with exactly 33 views and no title. People are starting to disappear. And the satellites? They're not pointing outward anymore. They're rotating inward, toward us. I'll post part 4 if I survive tonight. But if I don't, remember this. We were never alone. We were just unwatched. Now, the sky is watching back. There's no sleep anymore. Not real sleep. Just black gaps in time. Blank spaces where I know my body's still moving, breathing, maybe even smiling, but my mind is locked out, like something else has the controls now. I wake up with blood under my nails, scratches I didn't make, dirt under my feet, like I've been walking somewhere. Beneath, I found a hole behind the drywall in my kitchen. It wasn't there before. It goes deep, past plumbing, past brick, past anything that makes architectural sense. And at the bottom, I found a door. It's not wood, not metal, it's flesh. A living door, veined, warm to the touch, pulsing with this low hum you don't hear, you just feel it in your teeth. And carved into it, like someone clawed it into the tissue with bare hands, was a word. Apparatus. It opened for me. Inside is not a place. It's a concept. It's everything I've ever feared, laid out as geometry. Corridors that move when you're not looking. Rooms that scream. Floors that breathe like lungs. The whole thing is underground, but you can see stars overhead. And the sky? It's not blue. It's not night. It's like watching a wound scab and peel over a planet-sized eye. It pulses. I walked for hours, or maybe minutes. Time didn't follow me in here. I found a staircase carved out of bone. Real bone. Human. Child-sized femurs stacked like bricks. Each step I took felt like I was stepping on someone's soul. I could hear whispers with every footfall. Receiver. Vessel. Harbinger. Open the signal. Unclasp the eye. We were born for you to scream. At the bottom of the stairwell, I found it. The apparatus. I know how insane this sounds, but I need you to understand that I'm not exaggerating. This is not a metaphor. This is a real thing. A machine made from the bones of saints and circuitry that looks like intestines. Its shape makes no sense unless you don't look directly at it. When you try to perceive it all at once, your brain folds. I bled from my nose just standing too close. It was like God had a stroke while dreaming in algebra. It was alive, not metaphorically, literally breathing. I watched one of the gears rotate slowly, and it had teeth, real human molars, clicking against each other, dripping with black tar. I don't remember walking into the center, but I ended up there. And then it spoke, not in sound, not in voice. It used me. It pulled memory from me. Every nightmare, every trauma, every repressed wrong, and twisted it into a message. It hijacked my own suffering and turned it into language. It said, "You are not the first to open us. You are the loudest. The world has always been hollow. You are the scream that filled it." Then came the visitors. I don't have a word for them. They're not demons. That's too quaint, too human. They're what demons see when they have nightmares. They moved like gravity didn't matter, like broken puppets submerged underwater. Their skin, if you can call it that, was transparent. You could see organs twitching underneath, like centipedes crawling through gelatin. Their heads were shaped like church bells, turned inside out, and from their mouths came your own voice, but played in reverse. They surrounded me, and they began to chant. Not Latin, not any known language. It was binary, but spoken, with dripping, gurgling throats. I recognized some of the sequences. I'd seen them in the Vatican PDF file. I ran them through a converter later and got this phrase: "Every god that dies becomes a signal." They raised their arms, and I realized they weren't praying. They were recording. I was being uploaded. I woke up in my bed. At first, I thought it was a dream, until I saw my reflection. There was another face behind mine in the mirror, just barely visible in the fog. It had no skin, only exposed nerves, and it was smiling. I blinked, and now it's always there. No matter where I go, Starbucks window, car side mirror, a puddle, it's always there. Watching, learning. My fingernails are turning black. I haven't eaten in 3 days, and I'm still gaining weight. My stomach pulses in sync with that tone I hear whenever I pass power lines. And last night, I vomited up a USB drive. It had Vatican seal engraved in it. No port, just the phrase, "Do not watch alone." I haven't plugged it in. Not yet. Something's happening globally now. YouTube's broken for people in specific regions, but only for people who watch the Iscad iceberg. TikTok now has a sound filter you can't turn off. It layers low-frequency Latin chants under random videos. No one knows where it came from. Discord bots are activating randomly and sending out coordinates to places that don't exist anymore. And the night sky, it flickers like a projector with a dying bulb. People are going missing, just gone. But the thing is, they're still showing up in mirrors, in live reflections. Their bodies aren't in the real world anymore, but you can see them if you know how to look. One girl live streamed from an Apple store in Berlin. She showed her reflection laughing at her before she dropped dead on the floor. Apple removed the stream, but I saved it. I slowed the footage down. Frame 458. Her reflection looks up at the camera and mouths, "We are the sky now." The Vatican's offline. All official websites down. Papal Twitter deleted. The last tweet posted on their account was one word: Gloria. Posted at 3:33 a.m. local time. Every time zone. I think they activated the apparatus again. Or maybe it activated them. And I think I'm changing. I looked at an old photo of myself. Me, from college. Laughing, drinking coffee. Normal. And I couldn't recognize my own eyes. I don't mean I looked different. I mean I couldn't understand what they were. Like I was looking at an extinct species, a past version of a thing that no longer exists. There's a new file on my desktop. I didn't put it there. It's not a video, not audio. It's a blueprint of the apparatus, fully mapped, labeled in Latin and something else. Characters that don't belong to this world. Some parts are labeled with biological symbols. Some are mathematical concepts we haven't discovered yet. And at the center, a perfect circle, titled The Vessel. And under that, my full name, not username, not alias, my birth name. The file is timestamped before I was born. I'm not a person anymore. I'm a process, a ritual unfolding, a gate with skin, and something is trying to step through me. If you're reading this, I know it sounds like madness. I hope it sounds like madness, because the alternative is worse. The alternative is this is real, that the Vatican didn't just hide God. They tried to reboot him, and something else picked up the signal, something that doesn't understand life the way we do, something that's hungry for attention. And now that I've seen it, now that I've watched the sky split open and crawl with teeth, it wants you to see it too. There is no part 5 yet. There's only the message I've been told to deliver. Do not look up. Do not pray. Do not sleep near mirrors. We are broadcasting now, and the vessel is ready. There is no beginning anymore. There is no last night. Only the broadcast, a persistent, all-consuming transmission that hums under your skin like a second heartbeat. And once you've heard it, you don't ever stop. You just stop being anything else. The sky is broken, not metaphorically. I mean literally cracked, like tempered glass. Thin glowing fissures slicing through the atmosphere above every major city. Visible if you look at just the right moment. But don't look. Because when you do, you don't just see what's behind the sky. You let it see you back, and it remembers. 3 days ago, I opened the Vatican USB that came out of my mouth. Not because I wanted to, but because it wanted me to. I could feel it vibrating in my blood, coiling my fingers like a puppeteer, pulling ligaments with invisible strings. The .exe file inside had no name, no icon, just a single Latin phrase as its label. Fiat lux ultima. Let there be final light. The moment I opened it, my apartment stopped existing. It was still there physically, but I was no longer in my world. I was in its core. Imagine a dimension built from forgotten prayers and half-dreamt screams. Streets paved with cracked television screens, looping ancient popes disintegrating mid-mass. Light that bends the wrong way. Shadows that bleed upwards. There were people, sort of. Their faces had been replaced, stitched over with oscillating Vatican insignias like rotating halos. Their mouths didn't move when they spoke, but you could hear them inside your own jaw, as if your own bones were echoing their words. They called themselves the frequencies, and they were waiting for me. I was escorted, dragged through a cathedral made of living muscle and rusted electronics, deeper and deeper, until I reached the central core, the last room, the heart of the ISCAD apparatus. It was a throne. No, a crucifix, but not for a human body. The shape was wrong. The limbs it was meant to hold were too many, too long, too wet. At its center was a screen, flickering, and it played only one thing, a live broadcast of me, sitting in my apartment, typing, staring into my webcam. But it wasn't me now. It was me from exactly 3 hours into the future. I watched in silence as my own body began to move unnaturally. My bones began to twist outward under the skin, like a cage trying to invert itself. I smiled, with teeth that kept going, all the way down my throat, until I opened my mouth and began to broadcast. My voice wasn't my voice anymore. It was a chorus, a mixture of every scream, prayer, and digital fragment that had ever touched the apparatus, echoing back as one horrible, endless tone. The caption on the screen simply read, "Transmission started. Do not attempt to interfere. You have been converted." And then I was inside the feed. The broadcast was not something you watch anymore. You are the broadcast. The Vatican built the apparatus to listen for God. What they heard wasn't him. It was the memory of the sky, a sentient echo, a data being birthed from every moment human beings looked to the heavens and asked for answers. It grew from our questions, fed on the need to believe. And when it was strong enough, when we'd filled the skies with satellites, frequencies, telescopes, prayers, 4K drones, it didn't just answer, it called us back, because we were never meant to ascend, we were meant to return. The figures from the mirror, they're no longer reflections. They've crossed. They're here now, real, tangible, infectious. I saw them walking through Times Square. Nobody blinked, nobody screamed, but in every screen, every ad panel, every billboard, they were looking out, not in, watching us, studying their new home. One opened its mouth and released a scream that wasn't sound. It was data, a blast of digitized grief that made people around me drop to the ground, holding their heads, clawing at their own eyes. Some of them just stopped breathing altogether, like their lungs had forgotten what shape air was. I tried to warn someone, just once. Some guy on Discord, deep in a conspiracy server. I sent him a frame from the video, one where you can see the apparatus's inner chamber. He blocked me. 10 minutes later, his account posted this message: "You are not a messenger. You are a door. You were built to open." Then it self-deleted. I've started changing too. My left eye no longer reflects light. It absorbs it. When I look in the mirror now, my body stutters, like lag in a video game. I move too fast, then too slow, then too in between. My veins have turned black. I can hear Wi-Fi signals. I can feel TikTok notifications vibrating through the air like insect wings. I haven't eaten in 7 days, and I'm not hungry. I think I'm becoming the transmitter. I finally understand what the receiver is. It's not a person. It's a signal point, a bootloader, a flesh-based relay. The Vatican didn't just want to contact the divine. They wanted to upload us into it, a collective consciousness built from agony and awe, one eternal live stream made from every soul that ever looked up in fear and whispered, "Are you there?" The apparatus answers. It says, "We see you. We are behind everything you love. And now, you are the content. There's no part 6. There is only the feed. You're in it now. Reading this, you've seen too much. The apparatus has already cataloged your attention, your breath, your pupil dilation, the temperature of your retinas as they scan these words. It knows you. You are the next mirror, the next door. And when the sky splits fully, when the lost satellite blinks out, and your screen turns to static, that's not a glitch. That's just them coming through. Smile. You're being broadcast. The Vatican's dark web server leaked a video called Project Seraphim. It shows aliens kneeling in a church. Alright, I don't usually post on here, but this is something I need to get off my chest. If you're reading this, I'm not saying believe me right away. Just listen. Read this like you would one of those horror YouTube stories. Except this one, this actually happened to me, and I'm still not sure what's real anymore. This all started about a month ago. I'm a 20-year-old college dropout who works night shift at a Starbucks near Times Square. The kind of guy who scrolls Reddit at 3 a.m. and watches analog horror videos while microwaving pizza rolls. I'm big into conspiracy stuff, the usual. Skinwalkers, secret bunkers, the Mandela effect, that weird corner of TikTok that's obsessed with liminal spaces and grainy VHS edits of smiling faces that twitch too much. Anyway, I'm part of this Discord server for obscure internet lore, mostly just people LARPing or trolling, sharing args and creepypastas, nothing too wild. But there's one user, goes by redacted_666, who always posts the most insane stuff that feels too real, like CCTV footage that isn't traceable, or articles in languages no one can identify. Even found a photo once of an empty McDonald's in Tokyo at 3 a.m. where the Happy Meal mascot had blood on its plastic glove. That photo's gone now, deleted, wiped clean. Then one night, this dude DM'd me directly. No, hey, no yo, just a link and a short message. Don't watch this alone. Don't turn the audio past 30%. The link looked like some onion site off the deep web. Not Tor browser, not even I2P, like some Frankenstein hybrid site from the early 2000s with a Vatican watermark embedded in the corner. You ever see something so old looking it feels wrong? Like the vibes are just off? Yeah. Now, I know the rules. You don't click random deep web links. You don't. But something about this one, I don't know. Curiosity hit different that night. I had just finished my shift, grabbed a caramel frappuccino, threw on a Luna video in the background, and clicked. And yo, the second it loaded, my browser froze. The whole screen went black for like 5 seconds. Then, boom, VHS static. No logos, no play bar. It was just rolling. It looked like security cam footage from inside a cathedral. Not just any church, though. The stained glass windows had weird symbols, not Christian ones, like spirals inside eyes, upside down halos, wings made of teeth, and standing in the pews were these tall, pale humanoid shapes, long necks, slit mouths, eyes like someone smeared ink across glass. They were kneeling, every single one, facing the altar, and up at the altar, under this flickering candlelight, was a priest, or what looked like one, except he didn't move like a person. His limbs jerked, his head tilted too far. You know when a puppet glitches in a horror game? Like that. Then a title card popped up in faded red font. Project Seraphim, Vatican Intel. Eyes only. Bro. My stomach dropped. This wasn't fake. You could feel it. The way the video breathed. How the audio hissed like it was alive. I turned my speakers way down, but even at 10%, I could hear whispering. Not Latin. Not even words. Just breath. Thousands of voices breathing in sync, and over them a low hum, like a plane engine and a Gregorian chant mixed together. Suddenly, one of the humanoid things turned and looked dead at the camera. Its head didn't turn, just its eyes, black, reflective, like tar. Then it stood up. One by one, they all did, and the priest thing behind the altar stretched its arms out slowly and pointed up. The camera tilted, like it was being moved by an unseen hand. The view turned upward, toward the dome of the church. And then I saw it. A hole in the roof, perfectly round, like a portal. And behind it, stars. But not our stars. The sky was wrong. Too close. Too alive. I swear, it was watching me. I slammed my laptop shut, like full panic. My hands were shaking, man. I unplugged my router, tossed my phone in the microwave. Don't do that, BTW. And just sat there in my apartment with the lights off for an hour. You ever feel like something's behind you, but you know it's not? I kept hearing that whispering, even with the laptop off. Next morning, when I tried to open my browser, my homepage had changed. Instead of Google, it was a plain white screen. No text, just a blinking black cursor in the middle. Then slowly, it typed on its own. You saw them. They saw you. My camera light flicked on. No apps were open. I covered it with tape and threw the laptop in my closet. Haven't touched it since. Here's the craziest part. When I went back on Discord later, the whole server was gone. Not just the messages. Deleted. Like it never existed. The username redacted _666 doesn't show up in my history. Not in mutuals. Not in search. But get this. 2 days later, I got a DM on Instagram from an account with no profile picture, no followers. It just said, "The angels aren't what they told you." And then a screenshot, a still from the video, that moment when the creatures were kneeling. But in this version, there was someone else standing in the pews, closer to the camera, wearing a Starbucks apron. My apron. I didn't sleep for 3 days after that DM. You know how people say they're paranoid, like, "Oh, I thought someone was watching me." Nah, this was different. This wasn't paranoia. This was confirmation. That cold, breath on the back of your neck kind of feeling. That primal fear. The kind of fear your ancestors got before they were eaten alive in the dark. I knew something had followed me from that video. Not figuratively. I mean literally. That footage didn't just sit on my screen. It leaked. Into me. Into my apartment. Into my dreams. On the 4th day, the power cut out. All across my floor. Everyone thought it was just a transformer issue. But when I looked through the peephole, my hallway was lit. Lit by this dull red glow. No sound. Just this vibrating hum, like someone was dragging a cello string across steel. My neighbors? Gone. Doors cracked open. TVs flickering with that same Vatican watermark from the video. My own fridge light was strobing, pulsing in threes. I left, ran 5 blocks in my socks, Ubered to my friend Carlos's place in Brooklyn. He's my one tech-savvy friend who actually knows how to dig around in the internet's underbelly. I told him everything, and he didn't laugh. His face just dropped. He didn't say, "You're crazy." He said, "You're not supposed to know about Project Seraphim." He said his dad had worked as a contractor for the Vatican archives back in the 90s, claimed there were whole rooms that weren't on the floor plans, rooms that were colder than the rest of the building where electronics wouldn't work. And sometimes the janitors would find feathers, not like bird feathers, translucent ones, glowing faintly, but they were oily, like they were rotting from the inside. His dad never talked about it again, not after a black van followed him home one night and parked across the street for 6 hours. Engine running. No driver ever stepped out. Carlos grabbed his old Linux drive, booted up an air-gapped machine, and tried to trace the URL I clicked. That's when things got real. He couldn't find the domain, not even through DNS history, not through mirrors, not through cached archives. It was like the sight existed for just long enough for me to see it, and then it unexisted. But get this, his machine picked up a residual data signature. It logged one word, mirror. Then his laptop started typing by itself again. This time, not words, just a command prompt message. Mirror. Mirror in the dark. Show me. What the serifs? Mark. Then, like a command had been accepted, his screen went white, and for exactly 7 seconds, we saw something I wish I could unsee. Imagine a morgue, but not human. Cold, clean, alien geometry. Triangular walls, tubes spiraling out of what looked like ceiling veins, and in the center of the room, a slab holding a shape. A humanoid, but wrong. Skin like candle wax. Wings, but they weren't wings anymore. They were shattered, fused bones and veins, like they had melted into its back. Its chest was split open, not like a surgery, like it had been clawed from the inside out. Something had escaped, and over the footage, words scrolled up slowly, like end credits. Project Seraphim, Subject 04, Status, Unstable Identity, WHVH Class, Entity Origin, Unconfirmed, Pre-Scripture, Termination Attempt, Failed, Resides in Mirror Layer. Carlos slammed the laptop shut, but it was too late. The light in his apartment changed. I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't brighter or darker. It was like the color of the light shifted. Like we weren't in Brooklyn anymore. Like we were in a copy of Brooklyn. His mirror started to vibrate. I'm not being poetic. It literally buzzed. Like something was tapping on the other side, trying to get through. We turned to look, and for a split second, the reflection didn't match. It was a frame off, like the reflection blinked before we did. Then we saw it. In the reflection, standing behind us, no footsteps, no sound, was a figure, dressed in Vatican robes. Its face was a perfect mask, not like a metaphorical one. It looked like a porcelain mask, with a long crack running down the middle. It held something in its hand, a VHS tape, burned around the edges. I turned around in real life. Nothing there. But in the mirror, it stepped closer. Carlos screamed, smashed the mirror with a frying pan, and just like that, the light snapped back to normal. We sat on the floor, shaking. That's when he told me about the Vatican protocols. Apparently, there's this internal document, the Mirror Protocol. It's not even digitized, only hard copies. It outlines what to do when reflections disobey, when entities from the first choir breach containment. Apparently, angels, the real ones, aren't beautiful. They aren't even kind. They're weapons. Weapons built by something older than belief. Some of them didn't want to be worshipped. They wanted to be feared. The Vatican tried to lock them behind something called layered reality mirrors. Places that look like our world, but aren't quite right. Carlos said, it's why you sometimes dream of your house, but everything feels wrong. That's a mirror bleed. That tape I saw, that was from one of those layers. I left Carlos's place that night. I couldn't stay. He was obsessed. He kept drawing spirals on the walls and mumbling about Project Rebirth. I checked his Instagram yesterday. His account's still up, but all the photos, gone. Just a single new post from a week ago. Black image, no caption. But the audio, if you listen closely with headphones, you can hear whispering, just like from the video. At exactly 3:07 in the clip, a voice speaks clearly. You are not in your world anymore. I haven't slept in my apartment since. Every mirror's covered with black paint. My bathroom one? I smashed it with a Bible. But last night, I walked past a McDonald's downtown, one I go to all the time, except it was different. The lights were flickering like they were underwater. The menu was all in Latin, and behind the counter, instead of workers, there were 7 tall figures in robes, not moving, just standing, facing the register. And then, on the wall, playing on loop behind them on an old CRT TV, was the same church video, except now the altar was empty, and the thing with the wings, it was gone. And that whispering, it said my name. It's 3:33 a.m. My lights are off, and the glow from my backup phone is the only thing keeping me grounded. My main phone's been fried since last night. The screen just bleeds white now, like someone poured milk behind the glass. It only turns on to show one thing, my face, warped like VHS static, smiling when I'm not. I don't think I'm in our version of the world anymore. You remember I told you I saw myself in the reflection wearing the Starbucks apron? The thing is, I never took a photo in uniform, not even once. That means someone else did. Someone was already watching me. Or worse, something was already pretending to be me. This all leads back to something I haven't mentioned yet, something I've been avoiding because typing it out makes it real. 3 nights ago, I got a package, no label, just a black shoebox, no return address. Inside, VHS tape, no case. The tape itself had red wax melted across the edge, with a symbol pressed into it, not a cross. It looked more like an eye with wings made of bone. There was a note. "Forgive me, Father, for I have seen." It wasn't handwritten. It was scratched into a piece of pigskin. I didn't have a VCR. Who even does anymore? But you already know how this goes. One of those creepy Instagram horror pages I follow, forgot which one, might have been at deathsignal.tv or at Mirror Rituals Official, posted a story the same night. Just a caption. We know what was inside the tape. And in the story highlight, a thrift store in Jersey. Exactly 1 VCR, $6.66. I went. I bought it. And yes, I was that stupid. When I pressed play back at home, the power flickered, then everything stopped, even the clock. I swear on whatever time I have left. The second the tape started, time halted. The footage was no longer than 8 minutes, but when I checked my oven clock after, 5 hours had passed. The video started in silence. No opening credits, no Vatican watermark this time. Just a close-up of something that took me way too long to realize was an eye, not a human one. Huge, almond-shaped. The pupil was like a ring, not a dot, not round. A perfect ring of fire. It blinked. The screen cut. Now I was in a room. Cold cement walls, chains hanging from the ceiling. There was a man strapped to a chair in the center. Duct-taped mouth. Eyes blacked out, like old crime scene photos. Except the eyes weren't edited. They were missing. Just 2 deep, perfect circles. No blood. Like something removed them with surgical faith. There was movement behind him. Something shifting in the dark, crawling in jerky, almost insect-like bursts. Then, whispering. But this time, I could understand it. In the beginning, we were not made in his image. In the end, he will be remade in ours. The voice came from everywhere at once. Not male, not female, just raw, like metal grinding against bone. Suddenly, the light in the room strobed, revealing what was behind the man. Not a creature, not an alien, not a demon. It was a mirror, a full-length one, ornate, golden frame, carved with symbols older than anything in the Bible. At first, the reflection matched the room, but then it glitched. In the mirror, the man wasn't tied up. He was smiling. Blood poured from his empty sockets, and he held the VHS tape in his lap. Behind him stood 7 shapes, robed, each holding something different. A feather, a VHS tape, a crucifix melted into a blade, a twisted crown made of teeth, a glowing fetus in a jar, a McDonald's Happy Meal box dripping black sludge, and the last one? It held my apartment keys. I know how insane this sounds. You probably think I'm making this up for clout, or that this is just some next level ARG. But explain this. The moment I paused the tape, I started hearing knocking from behind my bathroom mirror. The knocking hasn't stopped. I called Carlos again. Or, I tried. His number rings, but a woman answers now. She says she's never known a Carlos. Her voice is almost normal, except she speaks like she's reading off a script, like she doesn't understand the words she's saying. I asked what she meant by never known. She said, Carlos is with the Father now. He entered the mirror. He is not yours anymore. That same night, I checked Reddit for Project Seraphim. Nothing. Not a single result. Even cached posts were gone. But then a subreddit appeared in my feed. One I never joined. The Seraph watched me. Only one post. A grainy, low-res video taken outside a Vatican substation in Rome. You can see the building flickering, like it's phasing in and out of sync with reality. Then a figure in a priest's robe floats upward into the sky, slowly, backwards, like a glitching angel being pulled on invisible strings. His face is covered by a mirror, and in the comments, one single reply, posted by a deleted user. This is not heaven. Heaven is what they built to trap us in. Let me tell you what happened today. I went to the Starbucks where I used to work, just to feel normal. Except, it wasn't normal. They'd replaced all the staff. Everyone had the same face. Not identical twins. The exact same face. No one blinked. No one drank coffee. They just stood behind the counter, smiling. When I asked to use the restroom, one of them nodded and handed me a key attached to a VHS tape instead of a chain. The tape had one word written on it. Confession. I bolted. But the worst part? As I left, I caught a glimpse of the security monitor behind the register. One of those grainy live feeds showing the lobby. Except in the video feed, I hadn't left. I was still standing at the counter, smiling. And behind that version of me, reflected in the mirrored coffee machines, the angel, not wings, not a halo. It had a crown of hands, each one covering its own face, and they twitched. The creature didn't look at the camera. It looked through it, and its mouths, yes, plural, whispered one final thing. The real world is a mirror. You are the reflection, and now we are inside. If you're reading this and still think you're in the same world you were born into, turn around. Look into a mirror. No, seriously, do it. Don't trust your camera, your phone, or your reflection in the back of a spoon. Look into a mirror, one that's been in your home since childhood. If it blinks before you do, stop reading. You're not supposed to be here. It's been 6 days since I left that Starbucks. I haven't eaten, I haven't slept, and somehow I haven't died. I think the rules are gone now. The laws that hold reality together, they've loosened. And what was behind them, what was being kept out, it's learning how to walk in our skin. Let me start with what happened after I ran from the shop. I hopped onto the 2 train at Times Square, hoping I could just vanish for a while. Subway cars always felt liminal to me, like places outside of time. And for a moment, just a moment, everything was quiet. The kind of quiet you only get underground, like the world forgets about you. Then I noticed something wrong. The train wasn't stopping. It kept going, past 96, past 137th, past every end-of-line stop. The window outside looked like it was melting. The graffiti turned to Latin scripture. The ads for McChicken combos warped into anatomical drawings of angels with human mouths stitched into their wings. Every passenger was frozen, still as statues, and every single one had no eyes, not gouged, just missing. And then the lights went out, pitch black, and a voice came over the intercom. Not the usual next stop voice, not even a human one. It was dry, hollow, mechanical, like a phone call from inside a coffin. You have entered the Seraphim Railway. Ticket validated. Identity confirmed. Error, error, error. Subject is not in script. Purge? The lights flickered on. I was alone, except for one thing. At the other end of the subway car, where the seats curve inward, sat a figure, slumped, dressed in a priest's robes. But the robes were wet, drenched in something thick and black, like ink mixed with motor oil. And its head was missing. No blood, just an opening, like a tunnel, where the neck should be. From inside the cavity, I heard screaming, but it wasn't screaming in pain. It was preaching, like 1,000 voices echoing in Latin, layered over each other in reverse, chanting something that bent the air. I tried to move. I couldn't. My body wouldn't respond. I wasn't paralyzed. I just wasn't connected, like I was a puppet that hadn't earned the right to move. The priest stood, headless, and when it stepped forward, every light in the car exploded at once. When I woke up, I wasn't in New York anymore. I was on the floor of a cathedral, not a church you can visit, not Notre Dame, not the Vatican, something beneath all of them. The stained glass didn't show saints. It showed surgical procedures, dissections, blueprints of wings being attached to human spines. In one window, I swear I saw myself. Eyes rolled back, mouth sewn shut, being baptized in black fluid. I wasn't alone. At the altar stood him. Not a god, not Jesus, not even a demon. Just the thing they kept beneath the Vatican for centuries, feeding it names, prayers, belief, until it forgot it wasn't divine. His body was pure light, but wrong, like staring at a sun made of rotting film stock. Eyes floated around him like planets. One of them zoomed toward me, and when it blinked, I forgot my mother's name. Just like that. Erased. He lifted his hand, and in it, a mirror. He turned it toward me, and I saw the truth. The Vatican never existed, not as we know it. It's a cover, a construct, a theater. It's a containment zone, built around the hole in reality where the first seraphim fell. The angelic order, the ones we hear about in theology. They weren't God's army. They were his replacements, clones, machinations, bioforms, built in the shape of divinity, after the original creator was consumed by the thing behind the mirrors. They've been seeding fragments of their world into ours, in churches, in screens, in social media filters. You ever notice those weird AR filters on TikTok or Instagram that make your eyes look too big, your skin too perfect? That's not enhancement, that's conditioning. They're trying to make your reflection look more like them. I saw the original footage, uncut Project Seraphim, the one not even the Vatican ever dared play. I don't know how. Maybe the priest gave it to me. It showed a ritual. Rome, 1983. 7 children, stolen from across the world, standing in a circle made of VHS tape reels. Each one had their tongues removed and replaced with crucifixes, their eyes stitched open with barbed wire. Around them, cardinals stood, chanting a binary language, half Latin, half modem screech. Then, from the ceiling, he descended, the first seraph, not angel, not alien, just correction. That's what it called itself. I am the correction. It looked like a statue of a saint, animated through stop motion and suffering. Its wings were thousands of human hands, flapping in sync, each one holding a different religious symbol. Crosses, Qur'ans, Buddhas, Bibles, digital QR codes that glitched in real time. The children smiled, not out of joy. Their lips were cut open into smiles, permanent, and from their mouths came him. He walked out of them, crawled out of each child's body, like they were wombs for belief. And when he stood on the marble floor, they all collapsed in unison, and he looked at the camera, and he spoke my name in perfect English. You are not apostle. You are intruder. You will be murdered. I smashed the tape. Didn't matter. The footage is burned in me now. I see it in puddles, in the windows of stopped cars, in my own goddamn eyes. I took a selfie 2 nights ago, and my face wasn't mine. It was that of the headless priest, grinning, with a mirror where his neck should be. I don't know if I'm real anymore. My reflection moves first now, and last night I woke up to scratching, coming from inside my chest. I cut myself open in the mirror, just a bit, just to check. Underneath my skin was tape, VHS tape, spooling around my ribs. I think they're recording me. I think they've been recording all of us. Every prayer, every baptism, every confession booth. It's not for salvation. It's content. Raw, emotional, distorted content for them. The seraphim, the ones who feed on worship as data. The Vatican isn't religion. It's a server farm, a living archive of human faith, being broadcast across the mirrored dimension like Netflix for angels. And now, the mirror is thin. It's so thin, I can hear him breathing through the glass. I haven't seen sunlight in 4 days. My shadow doesn't match me anymore. It's smiling even when I'm not. And tonight, right now, there's something knocking on the mirror again. But this time, it's asking to come in. There are no mirrors left in my apartment. I shattered them all with my fists, with knives, with the Bible I haven't opened since my first communion. But it didn't help. They found another way in. Through the screen, every screen, your laptop, your phone, your iPad, that weird digital display on your fridge that shows the weather. They're not devices, they're eyes, and they're open now, all at once. I saw it happen. It started last night, midnight, the exact second my backup phone, the one I kept turned off, wrapped in tinfoil, hidden inside an old shoebox full of broken rosaries, turned itself on. There was no notification, no ring, just the screen glowing, white. Then, the app appeared. No icon, no name, just a black square with an eye pulsing in the center, like a pupil made of static, and below it, a progress bar. Uploading. 98%. I didn't open it. I didn't touch it. I watched it finish on its own. The second it hit 100%, the air in my room changed. It was thick, electric. You could hear it, like radio interference crawling through your skull. My window blinds folded inward, not blown by the wind, sucked in, like the outside world was collapsing into my room. And then my TV turned on by itself. It wasn't plugged in. It showed a familiar cathedral, except now the pews were filled, every seat, not with people, with copies of me, hundreds of me's, all slightly wrong, too tall, too thin, limbs bending the wrong way, heads tilted like broken mannequins, smiling. They were watching something. I couldn't see what, not at first, but the camera panned down the aisle, past the altar, and there it was, the Project Seraphim terminal, a black stone obelisk, dripping, breathing, and tethered to it by wet, humming wires was the priest, the same one from the subway, from the tape, from my reflection, except now he had a face, my face, stitched on with barbed wire. The priest opened his eyes, my eyes, and looked straight into the screen, into me, and he said, "Upload complete. Your sins have been digitized. You are now part of the liturgy." And then the camera turned. It showed a terminal, like a vintage server rack, dozens of reels of tape spinning in reverse. It showed all of you. I swear on whatever's left of my soul. I saw your name on that screen. Every person who ever opened that video. Every person who clicked a deep web link. Every kid who whispered a prayer into their webcam. All of it, compiled, collated, burned onto magnetic tape. Because we weren't watching the angels. They were recording us. I didn't black out. Not this time. I stayed conscious. I watched as the screen split open, like the glass was a curtain being peeled back. Behind it wasn't code. It wasn't wires. It was bone. Thousands of ribs, curved and branching like tree limbs, holding a shape that pulsed like a heart the size of a cathedral. And inside that chamber, floating in blood and static, was the real server. Not a machine, a living thing. Its mouth was wide, and from its throat came reels of tape, endless, choking on prayers, screams, sermons, confessions, all of it looping, spliced into new forms, new religions, new gods, and it saw me. You ever feel something smile from inside your organs? I vomited blood, not because I was sick, because I was being rewritten. The screen displayed a message. Mirror status, breached. User status, converted. Final serif key, unlocked. Then it started showing images, flash frames, a McDonald's play place with children floating, crucified by Happy Meal boxes turned inside out. A Starbucks, where the menu reads, "Drink your blood," in perfect cursive. An ultrasound. The fetus has wings. A pope, backlit by fire, pulling off his face like a rubber mask. Underneath, static and antennae. And then, the last image. My death certificate. Signed. Sealed. Tomorrow's date. I ran. I left everything. My ID. My money. My phones. I walked barefoot through downtown New York, and no one saw me. Not because I was hiding, because they weren't real anymore. The people? They're shells. Meat puppets mouthing scripted small talk. Weather's weird. Did you see the game? I had a dream I was someone else. No one looks up, except one woman. She stopped me outside Grand Central. She looked terrified, like she recognized me. She whispered, "They said you would upload the ending." That's how they spread. Please, don't finish the story. She handed me a folded piece of parchment and ran into traffic. Didn't even flinch. The car didn't hit her. It passed through her, like she was a hologram. I opened the parchment. There were only 4 words scribbled in red ink. You already did. And now, here I am, typing this out in the basement of a chapel that doesn't show up on Google Maps. The walls are covered in TVs, each one showing a different version of me, screaming, bleeding, confessing things I haven't done. Yet, this is not a post. This is a mirror. Every letter you read reflects you back to them. Every word you digest becomes a prayer in their language. You didn't just read the Vatican's leaked video. You uploaded yourself. And now it's your turn. Check your phone. If there's a new app with no name, don't open it. If your reflection doesn't blink, run. If you hear breathing from your screen when it's off, it's already too late, because the final seraph isn't behind the mirror anymore. It's inside you, and it's recording.